All right, get ready, because today we're diving deep into something you specifically asked about, manifestation techniques.
Oh, sounds intriguing.
We're focusing on this mysterious DivineCode369.
Ah, yes. I've heard about that.
You know, you might be thinking numbers and manifesting,
Right.
but what's the connection?
Yeah, it's not the first thing that comes to mind.
Right. Well, this code has been linked to, no other than Nikola Tesla.
Wow, really?
Yeah, the inventor, the genius.
Fascinating.
He believed these numbers had this, like a special power, like a key to the universe.
Right.
He even thought they could connect different dimensions.
Okay, now that's pretty wild.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've got two very different perspectives on this whole 369 technique. We have a detailed handbook and also a YouTube video that takes a totally different approach.
Sounds like we've got our work cut out for us.
So we're going to unpack both of those for you today.
I'm excited to see where this goes.
Me too. Even I'm curious if there's any truth to this whole numerical code thing. But maybe we should zoom out a bit before we get to the specifics of the 369 technique.
Okay.
What even is manifestation, and how does it even work?
You're right. It's important to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The handbook actually breaks down some of the common ways that people try to connect with a higher power or the universe to manifest what they want. So think meditation, prayer, affirmations, visualizations.
Right.
You know, like The Secret and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay.
It also mentions tapping into the laws of vibration and attraction.
Okay.
And even suggests combining these methods for like a more powerful effect.
That makes sense. I've definitely heard of those laws before.
Right.
Especially the law of attraction, which is like attracts like, right.
Exactly.
But what about this law of vibration? That one sounds a bit more esoteric.
It's actually pretty straightforward.
Okay.
The law of vibration basically says that everything in the universe, including our thoughts and emotions, is made up of energy that's constantly vibrating at different frequencies. So the idea is that if you can align your vibration to the frequency of what you want, you're more likely to attract it into your life.
So it's kind of like tuning yourself into the right radio station to hear the music you want.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
And this concept of vibration is actually rooted in ancient wisdom traditions.
Really?
Yeah, you'll find echoes of it in things like the Hermetic principles,
Okay.
which come from the Emerald Tablet of Hermes.
Whoa, Emerald Tablet. Now that sounds super ancient and mysterious.
It is.
Uh-huh.
This legendary text, supposedly containing wisdom, passed down from Hermes Trismegistus,
Okay.
who was associated with ancient Egypt and mystery schools.
Gotcha.
And these teachings have influenced all sorts of spiritual and philosophical traditions, and you can even see their influence in texts like the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, and even the Quran.
Wow, so we're talking about some serious deep roots here.
We are.
Wow.
Yeah.
But let's bring it back to manifestation. If our thoughts and emotions have a vibration, does that mean we could actually be repelling the things we want if we're constantly thinking negative thoughts?
It's an interesting thought, isn't it? And many spiritual traditions grapple with that very question. They suggest that our inner state plays a huge role in shaping our outer reality.
Right.
So yes, if you're constantly focusing on lack or doubt, you might be unintentionally pushing away the very things you desire.
Okay, so that's a little scary, but also empowering in a way.
It is,
It
yeah.
means we might have more control than we think.
Right.
But before we get too carried away with manifesting our dream lives, the handbook does throw in a little word of caution, right?
You are correct.
What is it?
It mentions something called the second golden rule,
Okay.
which basically boils down to being mindful of what you're asking for.
Hmm.
You know, it cautions against manifesting something you might regret later, maybe because the timing isn't right, or it's not truly aligned with your highest good.
So it's not just about wishing upon a star, it's about being really intentional about what we're putting out there.
You got it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've got this concept of vibration, the importance of being mindful of our desires, all these different manifestation techniques.
Right.
So how does this 369 technique fit into all of this?
Well, the handbook presents it as a very powerful method for amplifying your desires and aligning your vibration with what you want to manifest.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's the secret formula?
It's not exactly a secret formula, but more of a structured approach.
Okay.
The handbook breaks it down into 3 steps.
Okay.
First, you choose 3 affirmations related to your desires.
Right, like I am attracting abundance into my life, or I am healthy and vibrant, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's about declaring what you want to be true for yourself.
Right.
Now, the second step is where the 369 comes in.
Okay.
You review these affirmations 6 times a day, each for 9 seconds. But the key here isn't just mindlessly reciting the words.
Right.
It's about truly feeling the emotions associated with them.
So you really have to embody the feeling of already having what you desire.
Yes.
Not just going through the motions.
Exactly. It's about aligning your energy with your desires.
Right.
And to help you do that, the handbook even suggests anchoring your thoughts and emotions to a time when you felt pure bliss or joy, using that memory as a sort of energetic springboard.
Interesting. So like using a happy memory to amplify those positive vibes?
Exactly. I like it. It even suggests putting a smile on your face while you're doing it to instantly shift your energy.
I love how practical and specific it gets.
Me too.
It even provides some examples of affirmations, right?
Yes.
Like for wealth and relationships.
Exactly.
So for wealth, it suggests things like, I am thrilled and grateful to receive unexpected financial blessings of $10,000 or more every month.
Wow.
Or, I am worthy of receiving limitless financial abundance.
And for relationships, there are examples like, I am worthy of the love I desire now, or I'm enjoying a passionate and loving relationship.
Okay, those are pretty specific.
They are.
So 3 affirmations, repeated 6 times a day, each for 9 seconds.
Yes.
But there's a specific timing regimen too, right?
Yes, there is.
Something about 3 a.m.
You're right.
Really?
It recommends doing this at 3 a.m., 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., and 9 p.m.
Whoa, 3 a.m. That's dedication.
It is.
But what if someone, enjoys a full night's sleep?
Well, that's where the handbook gets interesting. It actually acknowledges that this might be a challenge and offers some alternative solutions.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting.
Right.
What do they suggest?
So for those who can't manage the 3 a.m. slot, whether it's due to health issues or family situations or just wanting a good night's sleep,
Right.
it suggests substituting 12 p.m. because 1 + 2 = 3.
Oh, so it's more about maintaining that numerical pattern.
Exactly.
I like that. It's not super rigid.
It's not.
And even the author of the handbook mentions experimenting.
Yes.
They talk about doing the affirmations only 3 times a day if 6 feels overwhelming. They even share their personal experience using this method and how they've adapted it to fit their own life.
Yes.
I appreciate that. It's not just about following a set of rules. It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
And speaking of finding what works, remember that caution about being mindful of your desires.
Yes.
The handbook really emphasizes that, especially when your desires involve other people or material possessions.
They do. Yes.
And they suggest adding phrases like, if this be for my highest good, or this, or something better to your affirmations.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
It does.
So before we dive into that YouTube technique you mentioned, let's recap this handbook version.
Yeah.
3 affirmations repeated 6 times a day, or 3, if that works better, each for 9 seconds, ideally at specific times throughout the day, and with some mindful phrasing to make sure we're not accidentally manifesting something we don't actually want.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
I think you covered it all.
Okay, good.
But remember, the most important part is to actually feel the emotions associated with those affirmations, not just mindlessly repeating the words.
Right. It's about aligning your energy with what you want to create.
Exactly.
This raises an interesting question. How do you feel about all of this so far?
Oh, that's a good question.
Do you resonate with this? Are you skeptical?
I think I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah, me too.
There's a part of me that's a little skeptical, but I'm also open to the possibility that there might be something to this.
Yeah.
I am really curious to hear about this YouTube technique that you mentioned, though.
Yes, let's get into it.
It sounds like it takes a completely different approach, right?
It does, you're right.
Okay.
Absolutely, let's dive in.
Okay, so let's switch gears a bit.
Okay.
And explore this YouTube take on the 369 manifestation technique.
Okay.
It's pretty different from the handbook approach.
Okay.
This one is a 3-day process, and it focuses on detaching from your desired outcome.
Detachment.
Yeah.
That seems counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I thought the whole point of manifestation was to focus intensely on what you want.
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
But this technique works on like a different psychological principle.
Okay.
So instead of visualizing yourself having the thing you want,
Right.
you affirm, I no longer want this.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I no longer want it. So I'm tricking my mind into thinking it's already a done deal.
Yeah, kind of.
By saying I don't want it.
Right.
I have to admit I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah, it does sound a little strange at first.
But I'm super curious.
I get it.
So explain.
Okay, so think of it this way. By expressing like a lack of desire, you're kind of bypassing that feeling of lack and stepping into a feeling of already having what you want.
Okay.
It's kind of like saying, I'm so abundant, I don't even need to want this anymore because it's already mine.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see the logic here.
Yeah.
It's almost like reverse psychology.
Right.
On your subconscious.
Exactly.
It's fascinating how both this technique and the handbook method are trying to influence the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Just through totally different pathways.
Right. It's like they're both trying to access the same control panel, but using completely different codes.
Exactly. The handbook focuses on amplifying positive emotions.
Right.
And raising your vibration to match what you want.
Exactly.
This YouTube technique is more about shifting your beliefs at a subconscious level.
Yeah.
So which one's right?
Yeah.
Which one actually works?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's no, like, definitive answer. It probably depends on the person, their beliefs, and just what resonates most with them.
Yeah, that's fair.
Some people might find the structured approach of the handbook more effective, while others might connect more with the detachment method of the YouTube technique.
It's like choosing the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
Speaking of tools, the handbook mentions something called a 369 manifestation kit.
Yes.
That piqued my curiosity.
Oh, yeah. What about it?
What is that all about?
Well, it seems like the author of the handbook created this kit specifically for enhancing your 369 practice.
Okay.
It includes things like a pouch, a writing pad, a pen, a string of 9 beads, some clove buds, and 3 index cards.
Wow, that's quite the collection. What are all those things for? It's not like a witch's brew for manifesting your desires, is it?
Not exactly a witch's brew.
Okay.
But it is interesting how many spiritual practices use tangible objects to focus intention. You know, the author explains that each item is designed to help you maintain consistency with the practice.
Okay.
So, for example, the beads are meant to help you time those 9-second intervals for each affirmation.
Okay.
And the clove buds are included for their supposed abundance-attracting properties.
So it's kind of like having these physical tools to anchor the practice
Yeah.
and make it feel more real,
Right.
more tangible.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see how that could be helpful for some people who are new to this whole thing.
Definitely.
So what about the cost, though?
Oh, yeah, the cost.
Is this kit like top secret, super expensive?
Actually, the author offers it for free.
Really?
To a limited number of people who are willing to meet up online once a month and practice together.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Especially the group aspect.
Yeah.
It's like creating a little manifestation community
It is.
to support each other.
Exactly.
Otherwise, how much is it?
Otherwise, it's $25, which includes shipping.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Not bad.
And did you see they also offer a free 15-minute session
I did, yeah.
to help people craft their affirmations?
Yep, it's a nice touch.
They even included a link in the handbook for booking a session.
Yeah, it seems like they genuinely want to help people successfully use these techniques.
Yeah, it shows they're not just trying to sell a concept, but actually provide guidance and support.
Yeah, I agree.
So to recap, we've got 2 distinct approaches to this 369 technique. One is a structured process with specific timings, affirmations, visualizations.
Right.
The other is more about detaching from your desires
Yeah.
and allowing the universe to work its magic.
Exactly.
And then we have this manifestation kit,
Right.
which adds like a tangible element to the practice. It's a lot to take in.
It is, yeah.
I think what's most important, though, is that you find what resonates with you.
I agree.
You know, even if this whole 369 code thing is just a bunch of hocus pocus,
Yeah.
I think there's something valuable here about being intentional with your desires,
For sure.
cultivating a positive mindset,
Yeah.
and taking action towards your goals.
I agree.
What do you think?
I agree. You know, whether or not you believe in the mystical power of numbers,
Yeah.
the act of consciously focusing on your desires can have a powerful impact on your actions and ultimately your outcomes.
Well said.
Thanks.
But, you know, as we've been talking about these techniques,
Yeah.
I can't help but wonder about the energy dynamics at play here.
Okay.
I mean, if everything is vibration, like the handbook suggests, and we're constantly emitting a certain frequency with our thoughts and emotions, what does that really mean for our ability to manifest our desires?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one that takes us beyond just the how-to of these techniques and into the deeper realm of energy and consciousness.
Right. It's a good question.
It is, yeah.
Are you ready to explore that a bit further?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So we talked about the nuts and bolts of these 369 techniques.
Yeah.
But now I'm curious about the bigger picture.
Okay.
The handbook keeps mentioning that everything is vibration.
Right.
And that idea just fascinates me.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept.
So what does that actually mean? And
Yeah.
how does it tie into manifestation?
It's a concept that's rooted in all sorts of spiritual traditions,
Right.
but it also kind of aligns with some of our modern scientific understanding. Think about it. At the most basic level, everything in the universe is made up of atoms, which are constantly in motion, vibrating at different frequencies.
So even solid objects like this table we're sitting at
Yeah,
are actually vibrating.
exactly. And this principle extends to everything, including our thoughts and emotions.
Yeah. So if our thoughts are like little energetic radio waves, does that mean we're constantly broadcasting our inner state out into the world
It's an interesting way to put it.
and attracting things that vibrate at a similar frequency?
That's the idea behind the law of attraction.
Okay.
Which is often described as like attracts. Like, it suggests that if you're predominantly vibrating at a frequency of joy, gratitude, abundance, you're more likely to attract experiences that match that vibration.
And on the flip side,
Yeah.
if you're constantly dwelling on negativity, fear, lack,
Right.
you're more likely to attract experiences that reflect those lower vibrations.
Exactly.
It's starting to make a lot more sense now. But how do we actually shift our vibration? I mean, life throws curveballs.
Yeah, it does.
It's not always easy to stay positive.
It's not about forcing yourself to be happy all the time.
Right.
That's not realistic.
Okay.
It's more about cultivating a greater awareness of your inner state
Right.
and developing practices that help you shift towards a more positive vibration when you find yourself kind of spiraling into negativity.
So it's about having these tools and techniques that help us recalibrate
Exactly.
our energy.
Yeah. And that's where practices like meditation, mindfulness, and gratitude can be really helpful.
Right.
They can help you cultivate a greater sense of presence, peace, and appreciation,
Yeah.
which naturally elevates your vibration.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to force ourselves to feel a certain way,
Right.
we're creating the conditions for those positive emotions to naturally arise.
Exactly.
So do you think these 369 techniques, with their emphasis on numbers and specific rituals,
Yeah.
are just another way of achieving that same vibrational shift?
I think there's a strong possibility that that's exactly what's happening. Maybe those numbers and rituals are kind of like training wheels for our minds.
Right.
They give us a framework to focus our intention and energy,
Right.
which helps us tap into that deeper level of vibrational alignment.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah,
It's not about the numbers themselves having some magical power,
right.
but about how they help us focus our attention and direct our energy.
Exactly.
And that ties back to something we talked about earlier,
That's that.
the importance of being mindful of our desires
Yes.
and making sure that they're truly aligned with our highest good.
Very important.
If we're not careful, we might end up manifesting things that aren't actually beneficial for us in the long run,
Right.
even if we're using all the right techniques.
You could say it's like having a really powerful tool,
Yeah.
but not knowing how to use it properly.
Right. It could end up doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it.
Exactly.
We need to make sure that our desires are coming from a place of authenticity and alignment,
Yeah,
not from fear, ego, or a sense of lack.
I agree.
And that's where self-awareness, introspection, and connecting to your intuition becomes so important.
Absolutely.
It's about asking yourself, why do I want this? Is this truly serving me?
Yes.
Or am I trying to fill some void with something external?
That's a great question to ask.
It seems like the real magic of manifestation isn't about manipulating the universe to give us what we want,
Right.
but about aligning ourselves with our truest selves
Yeah.
and allowing our desires to flow from that place of wholeness.
I think you've hit the nail on the head.
Wow, this has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has.
We went from exploring specific manifestation techniques to delving into the deeper principles of energy, vibration, and consciousness.
Yeah.
I'm walking away with a whole new perspective on what it means to manifest our desires. And, even if the listener doesn't walk away believing in the power of the 369 code,
Yeah.
I think there's some valuable takeaways here about the power of our thoughts, the importance of aligning our desires with our highest good, and the transformative potential of cultivating a positive mindset.
Absolutely.
So to everyone listening, remember that you have the power to choose your thoughts, cultivate your emotions, and and set your intentions.
You do.
And by tapping into that power, you might just unlock possibilities you never thought possible.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep manifesting your best life.